So as I said, a government bond is basically a written piece of agreement between the government and the lender. Now you have seen that agreement of this nature before also. Can anyone remember what that was? As some of you would be guessing, that was our rupee note. Now the rupee note was a green paper. Okay, it was a promise by the Reserve Bank of India, by the governor of the RBI. That is also just a paper and a promise. In the same way, the finance minister also issues another kind of paper. Let us call that as a yellow paper. Okay. That yellow paper is basically what will have, just like the rupee has something called as rupees 500 written on it, it will also have some rupee value written on it. Okay. That rupee value is called as a face value of that particular bond. But because the government is borrowing this money from you, the government will also be paying you some interest rate. So maybe it is paying you an interest rate annually. That interest rate will also be written on that piece of paper. Okay. Remember, this piece of paper is not money. What is money is the other green piece of paper that was issued by the RBI. This is a different yellow piece of paper on which some face value would be written, and there would be some annual interest rate payment that the government would commit itself to. That interest rate is called as a coupon. And because the government is borrowing this money, it intends to return you back the principal and also this annual interest over a certain period of time. This certain period of time is also written on that particular bond. That is what is called as the maturity date of a bond. That is when this bond will mature. So usually the government is borrowing on a different time horizons. It could be borrowing for 1 year, less than 1 year, less than 6 months, or 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, etc., etc. Okay, all of these are literally just government bonds. They could have a face value. An example here: a government bond could have a face value of rupees 100, a coupon rate of 6.5%, which would basically mean that if you were to lend government rupees 100, then the government will give you 6.5% of rupees 100, which is rupees 6.5 every year for, let's say, 10 years, which is the maturity of this bond. And then at the end of the 10 year, when the bond finally matures, the government will also return you back the original principal, which is the rupees 100. So the total cash flow that will happen every year for 10 years will be 6.5 plus 6.5 plus 6.5 for 10 years. That is rupees 65. And in the 10th year, you will also get back rupees 100. So the total cash flow that will happen at including the 10th year would be rupees 165. Now interestingly, one of the things that would have probably come to your head was why are we calling this as a coupon rate? Okay, why are we not calling as, let's say, bond interest rate or a rate of return or some other rate, right? Why the word coupon here? And there's a very simple explanation for that. In the good old times, a bond used to be basically a paper. Okay, imagine those stamped paper, the ones that carry that large Indian emblems and stamp papers, etc. Right? On that would be written the face value, the maturity, etc., etc. But that paper will also have some coupons, almost like the coupons that we see when we go to a shopping mall, or a coupon that comes to us, some sort of a discount coupon, etc. And the idea was, let us say this is a bond with a face value of rupees 100 and a maturity of 10 year and an interest and a coupon rate of 6.5%. Then the same details would be printed on the coupon. Okay, and there would be 10 such coupons. So every year what would happen is that I would tear off one coupon and I would take this coupon off, and this coupon will still have the details of the bond that was the original bond that was agreed upon. It would have the face value, it would have the coupon rate, and it would have the year of the, whether it is the second year or third year, etc., etc. I would put this coupon in an envelope and send it to the government of India with a self-addressed envelope, and the money, rupees 6.5 in this case, would come back to me in an envelope. That is how the term coupon rate came into existence, because these were literally coupons that you would tear off, put it in an envelope and wait for your payment. Now you can clearly see here that because all of these things are printed on a piece of paper, the coupon rate is also a fixed thing. It doesn't change. Okay, and that's a very important thing that I want to stress at this point. The coupon rate doesn't change. The face value doesn't change. The maturity doesn't change, because all of these are hard coded onto a bond. Okay, this will become useful when I discuss another concept called as a yield of the bond. Just another thing here. As I mentioned, the government bond is basically a generic term for any borrowing that the government does. Generally, the government does borrowing for different time horizons. If the horizon is less than 1 year, these government bonds are also called as treasury bills, particularly in the United States. If the horizon is anywhere between 2 to 10 years, these are also called as treasury notes. The word treasury really means the treasury of the government of India under the finance ministry. And if they are called as government bonds, then the implication literally is that their duration or maturity is more than 10 years. It could be 20, 30, etc. So regardless, I mean, just the maturity is the only thing that is different here. Everything else, the issuer, which is the government, the purpose, risk, etc., are broadly similar. Government bonds are also called as GSECs, GSECS. The SECS word stands for security, and security is something that you will hear often in your finance courses and in accounting courses also. It is largely a financial instrument that represents a legal claim on something that is of value. Okay, so it's basically a financial claim on something that is of value. So the value is secured because this is a legal claim on that value. So the value of this piece of paper, this claim, is secured, and therefore it is called as a security. Security issued by the government is a government security, abbreviated as GSECs. So in future, if we are referring to GSECs or government bonds, we are synonymously using these two words. If we are going to be a little bit more technical, then shorter duration government bonds, we should refer to them as treasury bills, and larger ones should be more appropriately called as the government bonds, etc. But they are all literally issued by the same issuer, which is the government.